Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's AFK journey video. So in today's AFK journey video, we're going to talk about all the banner characters from the Waves of Intrigue season and break down their usage in the current meta, starting from Nara and ending on Luca. So even though Hodgkin just got released into the game, we have seen some users for this character, but I would like to give this character more time and for the players more time to discover how to use this character effectively before discussing his meta usage itself. Okay, so I'll do a final banner character analysis towards the end once the other characters like Harak, Bonnie, Hugin, as well as Sonya is released. So for today's video, we'll cover these 5 first and talk about their current users and how good they are in those users. Now, starting off with Nara. Nara is actually used more in the PvE side compared to the PvP side. So PvP side, Nara is usable but very niche, mostly for her ability to isolate targets and then for you to pick off those targets that you're trying to isolate. So she is usable, but definitely by no means meta in the PvP side, because in the normal arena side of things, assassins, they're usually used more, I'll say, like offensively than defensively. So half of the time you won't be using her because you won't be using her on the defense. And if you talk about the current meta for normal arena itself, I think wilders in general, they're still really powerful, like Tasi in arena V special map, right? Iron armors is still a thing. Lily May is still super duper OP. We have other OP supports like Damien and Hugin as well. So generally the elemental counter is there and Graveborn just ain't gonna perform as well, right? Defensively, you're not gonna run her, and offensively, you only use her in certain niche situations, which means that her usage in the PvP side is generally much lower. And then if you talk about the Supreme Arena side, Graveborn factional talent is just not that strong. So you don't actually see people running Graveborn factional talents for Supreme Arena side, because usually if they use it, the team is very weak and you can break it pretty easily. So if you were to run Nara, you would be running her with the other factional talents, such as the Mauler factional talent, the Light Barrel factional talent, the Wilders factional talent, or even the Celestial Hypergene factional talent. So you have like 3 units from those factions, and then you need 2 other units. And for Nara's case, I think she's really very niche. Like, you can use her, but like the thing is, if like whatever you want to use her for doesn't fit into what the team wants to do, then you did rather have another unit in her slot instead. So if you put all the different factors I mentioned earlier, Supreme Arena wise, Nara is just not as often used as well, although you can still use her in a niche situation in the event you need to isolate certain targets. So that's for the PvP side of things. Now, for the PvE side, right, Nara actually is insanely good right now for the AFK stage pushing, because of her repositioning ability, which is Phantom Chains. So this skill over here has a 4-second cooldown and is able to pull the enemy towards your tip. So this, in tandem with the Binding Spell ability, is able to reposition all the backline units from the enemy team into your Smoky Aroma AoE. So therefore, you will be seeing the most use with Smoky team if you are looking at how Nara is used. And even in those teams, you don't need Nara at a higher tier because you're mainly using her for the reposition ability. So just her chains ability right here. So enough stats to survive would be good enough for you to use her there. And that is where Nara is mainly being used, together with Smoky, together with teams which wants that reposition ability to snipe off certain targets. So that's the current usage of Nara. Not that strong, not that meta, but definitely has some niche users, specifically for repositioning purposes. Now next, let's talk about Simbat. So Simbat in general is actually way more versatile compared to Nara. In a sense, Simbat can be used both as a debuffer as well as a carry, and sometimes as a really good anti-certain meta arena character, because his kit actually counters quite a bit of units, specifically units that wants to heal or units that want to rely on their damage reduction to hold off the enemy's assault. You can actually slot Simbat in, because right now both PvE and PvP you can use Simbat. In the PvE side, you're using Simbat in the Light Barrel factional talent team for that Light Barrel attack, as well as the debuff ability, which goes really well against a lot of the healers, a lot of the shielding units, or units that have damage reduction from the enemy side of things. And on top of the PvE side being really good in certain situations, in the PvP side, this exact ability right here, being able able to reduce the vitality, being able to reduce the defense, as well as a lot of attack of the enemy, as well as increase the damage taken, is just really invaluable as well in certain situations that you can use him from time to time. Obviously, he's not going to be like this meta defensive character that you would be able to run freely, but in certain matchups, you will actually want to use Simbat because he will be able to allow you to win more easily. So to this day, I think Simbat is also pretty decent for the bossing side of things because of the debuff potential, as well as the massive damage potential that could come out with the physical teams in general. So generally, I think Simbat's pretty good. Obviously, no Lily May level kind of meta, but comparing him to like the general meta of things, I think he is one of the better characters in the game right now. Now moving on to the third character, we have Danlia. So Danlia is the celestial character that's released in the Waves of Intrigue season, and right now Danlia actually has certain niche users, right? Specifically for his ability to cancel healing, as well as the use of ultimate completely. So most commonly used in the PvE side together with the Dino team, right? To form that D&D team, Dun and Dino, which is insanely hard to break, very powerful, and just a bunch of stats for you to deal with because you have 2 Celestials in the team, and usually you will have 3, right? With Skadita or maybe Barrow in the team itself. So generally PvP centric, but there are certain game modes where you need to actually prevent the enemies from healing or using the ultimate, right? Specifically like AFK stages, and in the upcoming Relentless Rumble, the Shaman heals a lot. So having Danlia to prevent the heals from going through or prevent the ultimate from going through is going to be crucial for you to secure more points or secure more kills in those game modes itself. So Danlia, PvP S tier for sure. PvE wise, very niche users, but you can actually slot him from time to time depending on what you need to counter. So it's a very good tech unit and a very good anti-meta unit because the meta revolves around a lot of ultimates as well as sustain, so very good there. So that's the analysis for Danlia, but still, right, this character will probably not be that recommended for the free-to-play players because, right, outside of those niche users I mentioned, generally Danlia doesn't see that much use on the PvE side, and for the PvP side, it is very strong with the D&D comp, but you also need Dino to work, or you need another super powerful carry and a very complete team for your done and something team to work in the first place. So not that friendly for the free-to-play player, but generally quite a good celestial character from time to time. Now moving on to the fourth character, Tasi. So Tasi without a doubt currently is the best character to have been released into the game this season because of her insane PvP potential as well as her insane map pushing potential on the AFK stage side. So I don't think I need to speak too much on the AFK stage side because the Light Bearer Tasi team is just pushing through the AFK stages like butter, really quickly and smoothly. And this character right here, if she comes online in the arena, being able to spam her ultimate, bounce around and then get the energy up really quickly, can go into this loop of just spamming the ultimate to sleep the whole team, which makes her insanely powerful in the PvP side as well. So the only weak spot that Tasi has, or rather the only thing that Tasi doesn't perform in, is the Dream Realm side, which could be very crucial for like a lot of people. But generally, out of all these banner characters to have been released so far, Tasi is probably the best S level right now because of her insane AFK stage pushing potential, which gives you more resources to power up your account, and also her really strong PvP potential both in the Supreme Arena side as well as the normal arena side. So normal arena, we have Arena V special. You can also use her in teams which could allow her to get to her ultimate. Same thing for the Supreme Arena side. This makes her insanely powerful there. So that's the Tasi current meta usage. Now for the very last character, Luca. So I'll say Luca is kind of underwhelming in a sense. I think he has a lot of similarity to a lot of the good tanks right now, but also the same issues with them. And at the same time, I think his usage is quite okay on the AFK stage pushing side because you can actually use him as a substitute tanker in the place of Lucius in case you don't have Lucius for the Light Bearer team, because usually for your factional talents you need 3 characters in the first place, right? And then out of the 3, 1 will be reserved for Tasi because Light Bearer and Tasi is just so powerful. So then you have Rowan, Tasi, and then you have maybe 1 healer, so you need 1 tank. So Luca could be that like tank slot like in the place of Lucius in case you don't have Lucius built up. But other than that, I think PvP wise I see some Luca running around, but I don't think those teams are very strong. Definitely usable because of his insane tankiness as well as his controllability, but then you might have better choices out there. So generally for Luca's case, I think he's pretty mid, maybe on the same level as our dear Nara over here. Okay, so that's all the usage analysis for the Waves of Intrigue banner characters. Looking at these 5 characters, I think the most useful one would definitely be Tasi and Simbat. Tasi is probably the most used across the board, then Simbat, and then I'll say Dunlia. Like, you guys won't believe me, but Dunlia is seeing use in the Brutus Relentless Rumble, and in the upcoming Shaman Relentless Rumble, Dunlia also sees some use. And in AFK stages where the enemies have insane heals or insane ultimates, that's where you use Dunlia to cancel them as well. So Dunlia is the, I'll say, like, third most useful and versatile one out of the group, and then followed by Luca and Nara. So I group Luca and Nara similar in terms of usage, because you can use both of them, but you have better choices, except Nara specifically is good with the Smoky team in the AFK stage pushing side. So that is the added benefit for Nara, but you don't even need a high tier for that. You just need like 1 or 2 copy for her to pull the enemies in. So that's for Nara's analysis. So yep, that's pretty much it for this 5 character. Just a quick meta usage breakdown for them so that you guys know where they are used at and how good they are in those game modes. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.